My name's Payton Talbot, 21 years old. I fight out of Reno Academy of Combat. That's in Reno, Nevada on Mill Street. My opponent is Cameron Sandoval. I fight at 135. I am 3-0. My discipline is all encompassing MMA, so all styles. I've been training MMA for about 2.5 years. I got started by, I think I was watching like Conor McGregor highlights, and it was kind of just something that I wanted to do just to like kind of fill a gap in my life, and I just ended up really loving it. Not counting the cage fights, I've been in probably 3 street fights. I'm not undefeated on the street. This was the first place that popped up on Google when I looked up MMA. And then I went to a couple different gyms around town, and this was kind of the best one. And they kind of just made me feel like a part of their family. I've been training here at Reno Academy of Combat for 2.5 years. I think my strong suit is probably my striking and my cardio. I don't really have any concerns fighting Cameron. I know he's going to be tough, but I think we'll put on a good show, and I think it's going to be a good fight. Usually when I go in the ring, I'm kind of not really myself. Like I kind of feel like I'm almost possessed. It's kind of just like kill, kill, kill. I think it's going to end in the 3rd round by TKO. I'm usually a problem to my opponents just because of my pressure, and once I start, I don't stop at all, and I don't really get tired, and I just never stop coming forward. To prepare for this fight, I've been training a lot harder and more often, kind of to accommodate the 5 rounds, obviously. Progressing, working on stuff that I've worked on throughout other fight camps. Tough, smart sparring. I feel like me and Cameron match up really well, but I feel like my skill set has the advantage over him.
My name is Rick Collup. I'm Payton's head coach. Payton is very teachable. He listens very well, comprehends very well. Everything we tell him, he definitely replicates, and he constantly is in here working his ass off trying to get it better. Payton comes here more than anybody I know, always trying to help everybody, which in return helps himself. He's constantly trying to work on his technique, endurance, speed, everything.
What goes through my mind when I'm backstage before the fight is I kind of just try and get into my zen and almost like a form of meditation, and just kind of stay relaxed for the majority of the night until right when I'm about to walk out. Then I ramp things up a lot and just have really violent intentions.
I'm very excited. I've heard Cameron's a very tough kid. Payton's a tough kid. They both have immense respect for each other. I think it's going to be a very exciting fight, and whoever wins deserves to win.
Yeah, I have a couple. So one of my words of wisdom is get the fucking bike off you. And that's just something me and my friends kind of say to each other. There's a long backstory to it and inside joke, but that kind of helps me out whenever I'm struggling. And then also probably the answer to pain is within the pain.
I met Payton a couple years ago when he came into the gym, and just I've loved him ever since. He's awesome. His work ethic is exactly what you want to see out of a coach, from a coach. He's super coachable. He leads the pack on all of our conditioning drills. He's the one leading the sprints. He's just really setting an example for the whole gym. I'm just trying to throw at him whatever I think will stick. He learns so quickly. He picks up things so fast that I always want to kind of have him working on the next step. I'm 100% confident in Payton. At this level, you know, we're kind of at the top of the amateur level. It's really just about what you can bring into the cage. His cardio is great, his mindset is stronger than ever, and I just think he'll be able to go in and he'll be able to do exactly what he needs to do in there.
Success is really relative, I feel like. I think the answer is always in yourself, because through a fight camp, a lot of the time you're improving, but there's a lot of times when you plateau and sometimes even go back downhill. So sometimes what can look like you getting worse is you still getting better. It's still you succeeding. It's just part of that process. Just coming in every day with consistency, I think, is the secret to success. I'd like to give a shout out to Reno Academy of Combat for always making me feel like I'm part of their family. Blood Happens for sponsoring me, Rick and Heather Collup for being like my second parents and loving me unconditionally, and my family who's supported me through everything in my life. November 16th, King of the Cage, flyweight title. Cameron Sandoval and I are going to go out and try to kill each other, so you don't want to miss it.
My name is Cameron Sandoval. I'm 20 years old. I fight out of combat sports and fitness. I prepare for this fight just like I prepare for anything else. Show up every day and work hard. That's about it. I got you. No, don't touch these. These are my weapons. You don't touch my weapons, homie. Come on now. Well, been training with these things. You never know what to fight. It can go wherever. It can go to the ground. I expect us to go to the ground probably pretty soon out the gate. So I'm ready for that. I'm ready for a stand-up. I'm ready to brawl. I'm ready to go 5 rounds if it's 5. Ready to go 3 if it's 3. I don't even know what the rules are, but however it goes, I'll feel confident. Like, I don't really know him personally, but we grew up together, kind of in the same wrestling community. He was in my bracket a few of the years, so yeah, I know him. I don't think we ever wrestled. I don't think we ever actually wrestled each other that I can remember. You got to show up in the right environment. And you gotta figure out what the best environment is for you, and maybe what doesn't make you the most comfortable, but what you know is the best environment, and then you just gotta show up every day. Everyone overthinks diet too much. I think you just gotta eat real food, eat organic, real food. I always say, like, eat food that your grandma will cook. If you ain't gonna eat, don't be eating food from 7-Eleven, the gas stations. Don't be lazy with your food. Outside the gym, I work. You know, I gotta pay my own bills, gotta do all that fancy stuff until we can start making some money from these fights. Watch YouTube, watch my podcast, listen to music, get some sleep, get some good sleep. What I did is I just traveled gym to gym, and I looked for that, and I found it in Zach Bunnell. I walked into his gym, and he was hitting pads in the middle of pads in a full sweat, and I kind of knew right away that that's where I needed to be, because I seen it, and it looked real. And it's authentic.
No, I've known Cam since day one. He started coming and training with me when he first found a camp here in town, and it was pretty obvious right out the gate that what he was going to need to emphasize was his striking. It was obviously previously grappled. You know, he's a wrestler, came from a wrestling background. You know, one of the best high school wrestlers out here when he was wrestling and while he was wrestling here, and so it was a pretty easy transition for him into combative sports. But it was obvious that the focus he was going to need to be on stand-up. And the idea of grappling was already pretty cemented in his head through his wrestling experience. So it was really important for him to focus on his striking so he could, you know, basically become who he is right now, and so he could become more dynamic and break himself out of the mold of just a grappler. And oddly enough and funny enough, everybody in here and around town brags about his striking now because his striking has improved so fast and so greatly. Because, man, kid's an athlete, and we're going to have him in the UFC in a couple years, mark our words.
I respect Paetyn. I respect Reno Academy of Combat. I know they've been in the city for a long time. That's his gym. If that's where, like I said, if that's where he feels comfortable and that's where he feels like he can thrive, then good for him. But this is where I thrive. With Zach and Kelly, that's where I thrive. That's where I know I need to be. That's where I feel most comfortable, and that's where I get the best work. So, yeah, let's do it. That's it. My favorite part about fighting so far would just be the hard work paying off. The feeling that you get knowing that you train for months and months, leading up to a fight, leading up to stepping into a cage and fighting another dude. I mean, when you win, it's like you have the weight of the world lifts off your shoulders. So that's my favorite part so far. But there's a bunch. My favorite part is showing up every night with my teammates too. So it kind of depends. I got a lot of favorites. Hey, you know what I was thinking? Never mind.
What?
I was thinking about The Office when they look at the camera. I'm gonna start doing that.
You watch The Office a lot?
Hell yeah.
So like when you say something, just like.
Yeah, if I say some bullshit, I just got to like. So I live by 2 things when it comes to fighting. The first one, like I said, is just to show up. No matter how you're feeling, no matter what's going on, just make the time and make it a priority to show up. And then the second thing I live by is a quote that I used to have in my wrestling room. And it's a quote by Carlos Castaneda, I believe. We either make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong. Either way, the amount of work is the same. And if you think about it, it's kind of playing a trick, because the first part is just getting there, and the second quote that I just said kind of solves the problem of you feeling like crap. So it's kind of a little mind trick I played on myself to show up, and no matter what, how I'm feeling, turn it around and get better from that. November 16th, be there. It's going to be a big night. It's going to be one of the biggest fights in Reno. I'm expecting fireworks. I'm training for fireworks, so it's going to be a big one.
All my walls are covered in words, and while you sleep, I mark my goals. Stand tall, think clear. Don't let them see a hint of fear. Lines and dots, zoom in, zoom out. Open your window, let them hear you shout. Right on the poles, right on the street. Always remember the future is near. Cut some cords, scratch some scars. Put on your cape and jump from the car. Open your mouth, take a deep breath. Run fast and don't stop at the edge. You can be anything.